And we're live. Always starts with a smile. I'm going to do more Bible studies because this is normally what I like doing. And I think that we as Christians don't read the Bible enough, if I'm being honest. I'm just going to mute that for you. I've got comments on the side. If you know your Bible, I know you well, you're more than welcome to come ride along shotgun with me. But what we're going to do is we're going to read the Word of God. Nice and simple. So we're carrying on the Bible study. Oh, let's pause that. And we have 1 Samuel, we're in 21. Then came David to Nob, to Amalek the priest. And Amalek was afraid at the meeting of David. This is David who slew Goliath, coming by himself, no protection. Slew Goliath, killed a bear, killed a lion. The guy's got a reason. So just when you think about who he is, anointed by God, nothing has stood in his way so far. And he's only small in stature. And Amalek was afraid at the meeting of David and said unto him, Why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said unto Amalek the priest, The king hath commanded me a business. Now David knows that he's anointed king. Saul is still in power, and has said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business whereabouts I send thee, and what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. Now I love this. Where else do we see 5 loaves? 5 loaves, 2 fish, some totaling 7, or whatever's under my hand. You see so much in the Bible. You've just got to think. And this is what, as it starts to knit itself together as one complete book. Now, wherefore, what is under your hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered to David and said, There is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves, at least from women. So this is consecrated bread. And the Levitical, you have the show bread. So all the way through the symbology of bread and wine. So it's really interesting. And they couldn't take things impure. And how do we see this playing out today? When we take communion, we have to take it in a worthy manner. Yeah. The Bible says bad things will happen to you if you don't take it in a worthy manner. If you're coming to God to ask for forgiveness and remembering what he's done for you, you should come leaving your sins there, forgiving other people as you've been forgiven. So come with a pure heart. I often bring in, well, you only have your own testimony, and it's a good week if I don't have to get my phone out and go, I'm really sorry I said that. I'm sorry. Okay. And then I can take communion. It's a good week if I don't have to take it out. So I like what he's saying here, at least from women. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a true woman have been kept from us about 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread in a manner common, yea, though it was sanctified this day in a vessel. And the vessels of the young men are holy. So the vessels is their body. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the shew bread. So they have the shew bread, that was taken from before the Lord, and put hot bread in the days when it was taken away. To put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. Now a certain man of the servants of Saul was there that day, detained before the Lord, and his name was Doeg, an Edomite, the chiefest of the herdmen that belonged to Saul. And David said unto Amalek, And is there not here under thine hand a spear or sword? For I have neither brought my sword nor my weapon with me, because the king's business required haste. So this is interesting. So David has been constantly threatened. His life has been put in peril. He's had Saul set up traps for him. The king of Israel set up traps for him. So he's on high alert. He said unto them, Is there not here under thine hand a spear or sword? For I have neither brought my sword nor my weapon with me, because the king's business required haste. And the priest said, The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom thou slewest in the valley of Elah, behold, it is here wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. And if thou wilt take that, take it, for there is no other save that here. And David said, there is none like that, give it me. Now you have to imagine the size of this sword. It says a weaver's beam, and 15 pounds was the head of the spear that he carried. How large do you think this sword was that's wrapped up in an ephod? The ephod was the ceremonial clothing. So it's wrapped, it's a relic, it's like a victory, like a little trophy. So they've got this item here, and you need to think about what he's picking up here. This isn't a normal sword. Give it me. And David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul, and went to Achish, the king of Gath. So he's constantly under threat. And the servants of Achish said unto him, is not David the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? And David laid up these words in his heart, and was sore afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before them, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled at the floor of the gates, and let spittle fall upon his beard. Now, what you need to understand is this situation is David is under fear. They're identifying him. They said, oh, you're by yourself. You're David, who the king of Israel, who isn't anointed, but people don't know that. The spirit has departed from him. He's after your blood. You're running in fear. And the king is saying, you're not David. Are you David? And what David is doing is he's acting. He suddenly sees a situation. He's already in fear of his life, running around, having people trying to murder him multiple times. He's in fear of his life. And what he does is he feigns being mad. So when he reads these things, and he's feigning being mad, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled on the floor of the gate, and let the spittle fall down into his beard. So he's just appearing like a madman. And there's no honor in killing a madman. So he's playing being crazy. Like when people are arrested or people are in court, they pretend to be mad so that they may go to a loony bin instead of hardcore prison. They may be let out or let off for not being of right mind when they committed the crimes. So David is going to a king of a city, and when he's caught, he's like, hang on, you're David. Everyone's after you. So David is playing being mad. Very, very clever play here. Scrabbling on the floor, letting the spittle fall down upon his beard. Then said Achish unto his servants, lo, you see the man is mad. Wherefore have you brought him to me? Say, why have you brought me a madman? Have I need of madmen that you brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall his fellows come into my house? So saying this isn't a good look, guys. Why am I looking at the great David that is mad? David therefore departed thence and escaped to the cave of Adullam. Now you hear the word escaped. So he's constantly under threat, and he's got out of it by feigning to be mad. And when his brethren, all his father's house, heard it, they went down thither unto him. So all his boys are coming down to support him. And everyone that was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontent gathered themselves unto him. And he became captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. Now you need to really focus on this. Listen. And everyone that's in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontent gathered themselves unto him. David's got a rabble. It starts with a rabble of discontent people. It starts with a rabble of people who are in debt, criminals, people who are discontent with their lot in life, are thinking, well, maybe we find a better lot with King David. Yeah, maybe. So they go down, and from this seed of people, we start to see the kingdom shift. It's beautiful. And he became captain over them. Remember, Jesus referred to the captain of the Lord's army. He means king. And there were with him about him 400 men. And David went thence to Mizpah of Moab. And now Mizpah is a huge gathering area. And you'll see it mentioned multiple times in the Bible. And it's a place where all Israel will be summoned to hear what the Lord had said through prophets, or to gather in a large plain so a message can be spoken to all of Israel. So it's a gathering place. So they've gone to the gathering place of Moab, and he said unto the king of Moab, let my father and my mother, I pray thee, come forth and be with you, till I know that what God will do for me. So he was entreated. He said to him, to the king, a king of Moab. Yeah, he's saying, hey, let my mother and father seek protection under you till I know what's happening with me. My life is in constant threat. My family are at risk. Yeah, they're trying to wipe out David, his family, anything associated with David, till I know what God will do with me. I love it how he puts that in there. And he brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while David was in the hold. And the prophet Gad said unto David, abide not in the hold, depart and get thee into the land of Judah. Then David departed and came into the forest of Hereth. When Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him, now Saul abode in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah, having his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing about him. Okay, Ramah is where Samuel is from. And Saul said unto his servants that stood about him, hear now, ye Benjamites. And the Benjamites is the smallest tribe. It's the smallest tribe. Okay. Hear now, ye Benjamites. Will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards, and make you all captains of thousands and captains of hundreds? Yeah. And when they talked about Samuel, you've got to follow the story. The Bible's on it. When he talked about Samuel, said they asked Samuel to ask the Lord for them to give them a king. He said, hey, I was king over you. We want to be all like all the nations. We want a king over us. He said, this is what the king will do. He will put men, he will get men, and he'll put them in charge of hundreds of thousands. He'll take your women. He will take a tenth of this, a tenth of that. He said what a king would do. And that happened with Saul. Saul wrote it in a book. Yeah. He set the laws in the field at this same place. Saul, and now the kingdom's passed to David. You see, Samuel anointed David. The spirit left Saul. You see. And now the old king's attacking the new king. Yeah. The root of David, Jesus Christ, it's a picture of Jesus Christ. They're attacking him. They're attacking him. So now we see the same pattern happening inside of here. And I'll give every one of you fields and vineyards and make you all captains of thousands, captains of hundreds, that all of you have conspired against me. And there is none that sheweth me that my son hath made a league with the sons of Jesse. And there is none of you that is sorry for me, or sheweth unto me that my son hath stirred up my servants against me, to lie in wait, as at this day. Then answered Doeg the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse come to Nob, to the Amalekite, the son of Ahitub, and he inquired of the Lord for him, and he gave him victuals, and he gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Now this is a great honor. This is the sword that David won. He picked up the giant sword and chopped him. So he's carrying it. You see that blessing of the priest class. Okay. And he's inquiring of the Lord. The whole reason that Israel was falling is they were going to battle without inquiring in the Lord. The reason that the crown moved from Saul to David was because of this problem. He didn't follow what the Lord said. So he anointed another king. And he inquired of the Lord for him, and he gave him victuals and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine, which David took. The king sent the call to the Amalek the priest, the son of Ahitub, and all his father's house, and the priests that were in Nob, and they all came all of them to the king. And Saul said, hear now, thou son of Ahitub. He answered, here I am, my lord. And the Saul said unto him, why have you conspired against me, thou and the sons of Jesse, in that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and hast inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait, as at this day? So Saul's always been scared of David. They're singing these victory songs. He's tried to kill him multiple times. You remember he sent him out before to have his daughter Abigail says, bring me back 100 foreskins. You have to go kill someone to take their foreskins. And David came back with 200. He was trying to make him fall in battle. Put him to the front of the battle and told David, I'll give you my daughter. Just go kill 100 men and bring back the foreskins. He came back with 200. Yeah. So he's always trying to make him fall for these things. Then Amalek answered the king and said, and who is so faithful among all thy servants as David, which is the king's son-in-law, and goeth by abiding, and is honourable in thy house? So everyone loves David. Remember, he's adopted into the family through marriage. His behaviour is exemplary. There's not a spot on him. Did I then begin to cry of the Lord for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servants, nor to all the house of my father. For the servant knew nothing of all this, less no more. And the king said, Thou shalt surely die, Ahimelech, thou and all thy father's house. So out of jealousy, he's killing a priest. Out of jealousy. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, Turn and slay the priest of the Lord, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled and did not shew it to me. But the servant of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priests of the Lord. Now, so this is a start of rebellion. So this is the start of rebellion. He's going against the priests who know of his characteristics, the wonders that David has done. And they've inquired of the Lord for him, that the priests have that connection. I mean, David has his connection, but they've inquired of the Lord for him. And now Saul has turned on them and said, right, footmen, slew this priest and his family. And they're going, no. They saved his son Jonathan from him when he made a proclamation that no one should eat, when they've had an amazing victory and they're in a rolling battle. Jonathan didn't hear it, and he was going to kill his own son, and his men protected them from him. So we just see who Saul is becoming, not who he was, who he is becoming as the Spirit has left him. And it's the pride. He's setting himself up as his own God. The king said, Thou shalt surely die, and all thy father's house. And you see on here, the servants would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priests of the Lord. And the king said to Doeg, Turn thou and fall upon the priests. And Doeg the Edomite turned and fell upon the priests and slew on that day fourscore and 5 persons that did wear the linen ephod. A score is 20. He slew 85 people. This one gentleman slew 85 people. You have to think about who he's surrounding himself with. And Nob, the city of priests, smote he with the edge of the sword, both men, women, children, and suckling, oxen, asses, sheep with the edge of his sword. Now this is horrendous. So when Saul was being told to destroy the Amalekites, he didn't do this. And this is why the kingdom departed. But now out of jealousy, he's gone to the sanctuary, a sanctuary city, fled. His own sons given him advice to go. He's now turned around out of jealousy, slew 85 priests, and gone to the city and put it to the sword, and killed everything: children, suckling, oxen, asses, sheep, with the edge of the sword. This is what he should have done with the Amaleks. And because he didn't do it with the Amaleks, this is where we get Hamar in the book of Esther. They put an edict out to kill every last Jew. It was a picture of Hitler. So you see, when God says to do something, and when you turn against God, who is not for me is against me. We see the Spirit has departed from Saul and is resting on David. So it's just interesting that you can go from one extreme to the other. When they say, first got the persons that wear the linen ephod, yeah, these are what the Levitical priest class. There you go. And one of the sons of Amalek, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priests. So one of them escaped and was like, I was in my city. They've come against the priest class. They killed us. We gave you protection. And this is what's happened. And everyone's dead. Women, children, and animals. Yeah. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there. And you know who the Edomites are? Bad. That he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. And when he's saying that, he says, I buried them. Abide thou with me, fear not, for he that seeketh my life seeketh thy life, but with me thou shalt be in safeguard. So now he's got a priest with him, one priest of the whole city. Then they told David, saying, Behold, the Philistines fight against Keilah, and they rob their threshing floors. So the threshing floors are the wheat harvest. So that you thresh the wheat. This is where you get the tribulum from, the word tribulation from. So these people have done it before. This is when Saul started his rebellion. He was made king, went back to the field, carried on as a farmer. When they were attacked by the people, he united Israel and they had their first victory. And then they saw him as king because he'd acted in his duty. And now we see it here, the same people rising up against. You're seeing a mirroring. You're seeing a chiasm, they're called. You're seeing a mirroring of Saul to David. And you watch how David does it. Saul started off amazing. Let's not take anything away from the beginning of his ministry. But now we see that it's pride. He's living in the flesh. David is living by the Spirit. Okay. Therefore, David inquired of the Lord, saying, now David's inquired of the Lord, shall I go and smite the Philistines? And the Lord said unto David, go and smite the Philistines and stay of Keilah. And Keilah is up in the north. And David's men said unto him, behold, we are afraid here in Judah. How much more if we come to Keilah against the armies of the Philistines? Now Judah's the largest tribe. Then David inquired of the Lord yet again. You see, going straight to the Lord. And the Lord answered him and said, arise, go down to Keilah, for I will deliver the Philistines into thy hand. So David and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Philistines and brought away their cattle and smote them with a greater slaughter. So David saved the inhabitants of Keilah. This is when they said, we'll become servants. Yeah, if you become servants, we'll pull out everyone's eye. So they bound up and said, don't do it for 7 days. They sent a message to the city. All in Israel united. They were saved the first time. This is the second time, many, many years later. And it was told Saul that David was come to Keilah. And Saul said, God hath delivered him into mine hand, for he is shut in by entering into a town that hath gates and bars. And Saul called all the people together to war, to go down to Keilah and besiege David and his men. And David knew that Saul secretly practiced mischief against him. And he said to Abiathar the priest, bring hither the ephod. Then said David, O Lord God of Israel, thy servant hath certainly heard that Saul seeketh to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. So now he's going to the city, who they've saved the people from the pagans, to destroy David for doing good, who's inquired of God. I will tell them, the men of Keilah, deliver me up into his hand. Will Saul come down, as thy servant hath heard? O Lord God of Israel, I beseech thee, tell thy servant. And the Lord said, he will come down. Then said David, will the men of Keilah deliver me and my men into the hand of Saul? And the Lord said, they will deliver thee up. Then David and his men, which were about 600, arose and departed out of Keilah, and went whitherso they could go. And it was told Saul that David was escaped from Keilah, for he forbade to go forth. So he's inquired of God, and God said, hey, the king, who isn't anointed, who's in power, who's king over these people, even though you defended them, that he's going to stand at the gates and demand these people give you up. Everyone will have heard that Saul's just killed all the priests, wiped out the city, and one of them escaped. They're going to be fearful of their lives, and they will give you up. So the Lord's told him what to do. The Spirit is leading him. Okay. Then David didn't. Okay, we've done that. And David abode in the wilderness in strongholds, and remained in the mountains in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul sought him every day, but God delivered him not into his hands. And David saw that Saul was come out to seek his life, and David was in the wilderness of Ziph in a wood. And Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David into the wood, and strengthened his hand in God. Now Jonathan is the prince. Jonathan gave his own garments, gave his bow, gave his sword to David. He knew who he was. He loved him. This is his own son. Jonathan was the one telling him how to, when he's in trouble, to get out of the castle. Multiple times has the Spirit come upon Saul, and he's thrown javelins at him. Yeah, this is spiritual. So even his own son is going out to meet his old friend. Everyone loves David. There's no blemish on him so far. Okay. And went to David in the woods and strengthened his hand in God. They prayed. And he said unto him, fear not, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find thee, and thou shalt be king over Israel, and I shall be next unto thee, that also Saul my father, and that also my father knoweth. Jonathan, under his father, is the next heir in line, but he says, no, I know who you are. I'm with you. I know what my father's doing. I live in the castle. I know about Samuel and the anointing. I'm with you. I'm with God. I serve God. So he's forsaken his lineage. All Jonathan has to do is chop his head off. And when Saul dies, he becomes king. It's the house of Saul and the house of David. Okay? This is real love. They said unto him, Fear not, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find thee. For thou shalt be king over Israel, and I shall be next to thee, that also my father knoweth. And that also my father knoweth. And they two made a covenant before the Lord, and David abode in the wood, and Jonathan went to his house. They came up to the Zippites, to Saul, to Gibeah, saying, Doth not David hide himself with us in strongholds in the woods, in the hill of Helachai, which is on the south of Jeshimon? Now therefore, O king, come down according to all the desires of thy soul to come down, and our part shall be delivered him into the king's hand. And Saul said, Blessed be ye of the Lord, for ye have compassion on me. Go, I pray you, prepare yet, and know and see his place where his haunt is, and who hath seen him there. For it is told me that he dealeth very subtly. So go seek him out, tell me where he's lying. See therefore, and take knowledge of all the lurking places where he hideth himself, and come ye again to me with the certainty, and I will go with you. And it shall come to pass, if he be in the land, that I will search him out throughout all the thousands of Judah. And Judah's a very big tribe. It's the biggest tribe. And they arose and went to Ziph before Saul. But David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, and in the plain of the south of Jeshon. Saul also and his men went to seek him, and they told David, wherefore he came down into a rock and abode in the wilderness of Maon. And when Saul heard that, he pursued after David in the wilderness of Maon. And Saul went on this side of the mountain, and David and his men on that side of the mountain. And David made haste to get away for fear of Saul. For Saul and his men compassed David and his men round about to take them. Well, there came a messenger unto Saul, saying, Haste thee and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land. Wherefore Saul returned from pursuing David and went again against the Philistines. Therefore they called that place Selah Hamath-Kalathoth. That's hard to pronounce. And David went up from thenceforth and dwelt in the strongholds Edgedi. Cool. If you're listening to a dyslexic read, it's gonna be fun this evening. I'm going to say that. When it came to pass, when Saul had returned from following the Philistines, it was told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of Engedi. And Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks of the wild goats. And he came to the sheepcotes by the way, where was a cave, and Saul went in to cover his feet. And David and his men remained in the sides of the cave. And the men of David said unto them, Behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hands, that thou mayest do to him as it shall seem good unto thee. Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privily. And it came to pass afterwards that David's heart smote him, because he had cut off Saul's skirt. See? And he came to the sheepcotes by the way, where was a cave, and Saul went in to cover his feet. And David and his men remained in the sides of the cave. And when they cover the feet, it means they're sleeping. And the men of David said unto him, Behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hand, that thou mayest do to him as it shall seem good unto thee. So this is the gentleman, this is the king who's just trying to kill you, butchering you, sending people after you. The Lord's anointing is passed on to you. He's jealous. He's tried to get you killed so many times. Now he's come with 300 of his choice men, and he's fallen asleep in a cave. And David's men have come out, and God has said, do what you think's good. And David is taught to love his enemies. He's following God. Yeah. And he doesn't kill them whilst they're sleeping. He cuts a piece of his mantle off, a piece of his skirt off, to show, hey, I was here and I gave you grace. He gave you mercy. He withheld what he deserved. So we see this. When it says covering your feet, you see that language used in Esther as well. So it's understanding the language of the Jews, or the idioms that they have. So he's asleep in a cave, and David comes down and he goes, they're all here, we can kill them. Do what you see fit. I'll take a little piece of his skirt, a little bit of his clothing off him, so he knows that I was here. And then he walks off. And it came to pass after that, David's heart smote him, because he had cut off Saul's skirt, and it hurt him in his heart. He said unto his men, the Lord forbid that I should do this thing unto my master, the Lord's anointed, to stretch forth mine hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord. So David stayed his servants with these words and suffered them not to rise against Saul. But Saul rose up out of the cave and went on his way. And David arose up afterwards and went out the cave and cried after Saul, saying, my lord the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed himself. And David said to Saul, wherefore hearest thou men's words, lying, saying, behold, David seeketh thy hurt? Behold, this day thine eyes have seen how the Lord had delivered thee to the day into mine hands in the cave, and some bade me kill thee, but mine eyes spared thee. And I said, I will not put forth my hand against my Lord, for he's the Lord's anointed. God anointed him. He doesn't know that the Spirit has departed him. And he's bowed down, and he's not going to touch. There's a scripture says, do not touch the Lord's anointed. Okay? Do not touch the Lord's anointed. So he's done this thing, and he's turned around, and the guys have left the cave, and David's men have come up behind him. David's bowed down to Saul, saying, God said he would deliver you into my hands, but I haven't done anything against you. Don't go back to your city and say that I'm trying to kill you, because I'm not. All the opportunities that I have, I'm not taking, and all the opportunities you have, the Lord is delivering me from them. Don't go lie about me. Okay? Moreover, my father, see the skirt of the robe in my hand. From in that I cut off the skirt of thy robe and killed thee not. Know thou and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in my hand, and I have not sinned against thee, yet thou huntest my soul to take it. The Lord judge between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. And saith the proverb of the ancients, wickedness shall proceedeth from the wicked, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. After whom is the king of Israel come out? After whom dost thou pursue? After a dead dog? After a flea? The Lord therefore be judge, and judge between me and thee, and see, and plead my cause, and deliver me out of thine hands. And it came to pass, when David had made an end of speaking these words unto Saul, and Saul said, in this thy voice, my son David. And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. Remember, Saul used to love David. He was his armor bearer because he was close to him when he's playing the harp. He saved Israel by killing Goliath. He's heard of his stories. He's given his daughter to marry him. He's his son-in-law. He's his son-in-law. He's anointed by God. He's jealous of him. That's all it is. He still loves him. This relationship, you have to see. I often think that Christians miss this thing, and I haven't put it into practice, but I've mentioned it before. I was doing a lot of study on Esther, and what males do is we see everything. I'm super logical. This says this says that, but we forget this emotional. We're talking about people here with emotions, and I think women see the interplay between these people more, and they pull out relationships, and they see the emotions behind the figures, and they identify that better. And I think we can, as men, we can look in and see the trouble that they're having, that wrestling with us, or you're trying to kill me. And when he's confronted with the truth, we see it here when he's confronted. It came to pass when David had made an end of speaking these words unto Saul, he says, Saul, why are you trying to kill me? Why are you trying to kill me? My guys were surrounded you when you all fell asleep. And all I did was cut off a piece of cloth. The Saul said, in this voice, my son David, and Saul lifted up his voice and wept. Saul wept. This is the anointed king. And he said to David, thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded thee evil. And thou hast shewed this day how that thou hast dealt with well with me, for so much as when the Lord had delivered me into thine hand, thou killest me not. For if a man finds his enemy, will he let him go well away? Wherefore the Lord reward thee good, for thou hast done unto me this day. And now behold, I know well that thou shalt surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in thine hand. Saul knows this. Samuel took him to his side and said, the Spirit of the Lord has departed from you. I have anointed another. He knows what's going to happen. He disobeyed him. And then he did the same thing to the priests. They were told to do the Amalek by killing everything. He smote a small town of priests. He killed the wives, the children, the babies. He killed the animals for a reason of them not disclosing where David was. When he lost the kingdom, not for doing that, for the Amaleks, who butchered the train as they left from Israel from the back. These are the people that put edict out. I said where you get Haman from. It's like when God says to do something, it's because he knows the beginning from the end. So we really need to kind of see who Samuel is and who Saul is, you know, and really understand who people are. And behold, now I know well that thou shalt surely be king. He's already known he's been king, but he's the people still think he's king, that Saul is king. Yeah, but he knows. Samuel told him. The kingdom of Israel shall be established in thine hand. Swear now therefore unto me by the Lord that thou wilt not cut off my seed after me, that thou wilt not destroy the name out of my father's house. He's saying, you will be king. I know you're going to be king. I've tried to kill you, but you'll be king. He's married to his daughter, and Jonathan is the one leading him to escape, who is the rightful heir after Saul. And Jonathan's like, I'll be with you, bro. When you're king, I'll be with you. They're best friends. They make covenants together. He knows who he is. He gave him his own sword. When he realized who he was as a person, he said, hey, I'm the prince, but you're the guy. You're the one. I see it. You're the chosen. So, but then I say now he's from a heart point of view saying, look, when you become king out of fear, he's saying, don't kill my family, because it's a threat. We understand how kingdoms work and how men's hearts, they don't want any threats. We see this all the way through, just in reality, of people taking out threats. And behold, now I know well that you shall surely be king. The kingdom of Israel shall be established in thine hand. Swear now, therefore, unto me by the Lord that thou wilt not cut off my seed after me, that thou wilt not destroy my name out of my father's house. And David swore unto Saul, and Saul went home, but David and his men gathered them up unto the hold. Okay. So we're starting to see the building of the character of who David is. And Samuel died, and all of Israel were gathered together and lamented, and buried him at his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down into the wilderness of Paran. So Samuel is the prophet, isn't he? Anointed by God, the one that anoints these two. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel, and the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Carmel's a big hill. This is where Elijah makes the offering to remember he kills the priest of Baal. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail, and she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men. And David said unto the young men, get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. And thus shall ye say to him that liveth in prosperity, peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine household, and peace be unto all that thou hast. And now I've heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherd which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them, all the while they were in Carmel. So he's saying to them, look, we're not going to steal your sheep. Don't worry about it. We're not going to bring any disrepute. Okay? Ask the young men, and they will shew thee. Wherefore let the young men find favour in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thine hand unto the servants, to thy son David. And when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all the words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, who is David? Who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. So he's saying, who are you? Oh, the guy that slew Goliath. Yeah, there's many people that break away from the king, Saul, the anointed king, who proclaimed that David would be king. So he's not under his authority. He thinks he's a threat to his livelihood. Did it break away every man from his master? Shall I then take my bread, my water, my flesh that I have killed for my shearers, and give it unto men, whom I know not whence they be? So David's young men turned their way and went again, and came and told him all those sayings. And David said unto his men, gird ye on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword, and David also girded on his sword. And they went up after David, about 400 men, and 200 bowed by the stuff. I love it how they just use stuff. So they've got the camp, they've left 200 back, remember he's got 600. They've taken 400 and 200 to protect. Among the stuff. Great word. Everything else, basically. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, behold, David sent messenger out to the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. He was aggressive to them. He said, no. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when they were in the fields. They were a wall unto us both by night and day, and all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master, against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial, the man cannot speak to him. For he is such a son of Belial, and that man cannot speak to him. So he's saying, look, these guys were good to us. They were a wall. We're surrounded by 600 soldiers. They were good to us. We had no problem with them. They didn't steal anything. These are good people to have around. So we're starting to see people speaking for David. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 bottles of wine, 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses, and said unto her servants, go on before me. Behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert on the hill, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David had said, surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained to him, and he hath requited me evil for good. So and more also do God unto the enemies of David. And if I leave all that pertain to him by the morning light, that any pisseth against the wall. Ooh, this is serious. Okay, now let me go through this again. Now David said, surely in vain have I kept all that his fellows hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him, and he requiteth me evil for good. She's speaking bad about her husband here. He's a very selfish man. So and more also do God unto the enemies of David. If I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light, any that pisseth against the wall. So who pisses against the wall? Men. All his men. I'm going to leave. They're not good people. The Bible's all described them as good and bad. Yeah. And Abigail saw David. She hasted and lighted off the ass, and fell before David on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, upon me, my lord, upon me let this iniquity be, and let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear the words of thine handmaid. Let not my lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal, for as my name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But in thine handmaids saw not young men of the Lord, whom thou didst send. Now therefore, my lord, as the Lord liveth, as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood, and from avenging thyself with thine own hand, now let thine enemies, they that seek evil to my lord, be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thine handmaid had brought unto my lord, let it even be giveth unto the young men that follow my lord. I pray thee, forgive the trespasses of thy handmaid, for the Lord will certainly make my lord a sure house, because my lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and the evil hath not been found in thee all thy days. So David has done nothing wrong. There's no iniquity found in him, and he will make him a sure house. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee, to seek thy soul. The soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with the Lord thy God, and the souls of thine enemies, they shall he sling out, as at the middle of a sling. You see that with David, the language that we're using? And it shall come to pass, when the Lord shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he has spoken concerning thee, and shall appoint thee ruler over Israel, that this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offence of heart unto the Lord, either that thou hast shed blood causeless, or that my Lord hath avenged him. But when the Lord shall have dwelt well with my Lord, then remember thine handmaid. He said, remember me. When you've done what you need to do, remember me. And David said to Abigail, blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. And blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou, which has kept me this day from coming to shed blood, for avenging myself with mine own hand. So this lady's come out, been peaceable, heard what has been said, knows who David is, and said, "You'll be strong, hound. I've come to peace. Here's the food that he should have given you, but I'm going to give you. Okay, don't shed blood." And it's appeased him. "For in this very deed the Lord God of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hast hasted and come to meet me. Surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall." They're saying, "Look, I had 600 men ready to go, and we were going to come in, and anyone that pisseth against the wall, men, we against walls, would be gone. They'd be dead. That's it. And this is not going to happen." So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, the food, and said unto her, "Go in peace to thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice and have accepted thy person." And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in this house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out, Nabal and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him. He had become as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after that the Lord smote Nabal, that he died. God fights for David. God knows his end, and God smote him. He died. That was it. 10 days later, he died. So you see the way that God works, and you see the way that wicked works. And we see it here. For he's going against the Lord's anointed. He's an evil man, but his heart is hardened. Who's not for us is against the Lord. So it's simple, but God fights his battles, and he was appeased by Abigail. We'll see who Abigail becomes later on. And it came to pass about 10 days after the Lord smote Nabal, that he died. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, "Blessed be the Lord that hath pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal." So this is an insult. He insulted David, yeah, with his men. No food, no nothing. Cool. From the hand of Nabal, and have kept his servant from evil. For the Lord hath returned the wicked of Nabal upon his own head. And David said to commune with Abigail, to take her him to wife. So he said, "I really fancied you. You're lovely. You did the right thing. And will you marry me?" Now this is fine because his husband's died. So we don't see any romance before, but then we see this. So, and David, the servant of David, came to Abigail to Carmel. They spake unto her, saying, "David has sent us to thee to take thee him to wife." And she arose and bowed herself on the face of the earth and said, "Behold, let then handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of the servant of my Lord." And Abigail hastened. Do you see the helper? Do you see this woman of God, how she's responded? To wash the feet of the servant of my Lord. Servant. You see the chain of command there. God, man, woman, children. And there should be helpers, and became his wife. David also took Aniham of Jezreel, and they were also both of them his wives. Oh, David's getting about now. Now this goes against Leviticus. This is common practice, but it is against Levitical laws. And what happens? You see this problem happen multiple times. You'll see it happening in Solomon's. You'll see it later happening in David's household, where there is issues with having multiple wives and multiple half brothers and sisters running around the place. You will see this issue, but it's against the Levitical laws. This, it was common practice, doesn't mean it was right. But Saul had given Michal his daughter, David's wife, to Pilate the son of Lahish, which was from Galium. So David's got 4 wives now. That's a hard task, that, mate. That's a hard task. And the Ziphites came unto Saul to Gibeah, saying, "Doth not David hide himself in the hills of Hachilah, which is before Jeshimon?" And Saul arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him, to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul pitched in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Jeshimon, by the way. But David abode in the wilderness, and he saw that Saul came after him into the wilderness. And David therefore sent out spies, and understood that Saul was come in very deed. Saul was come in very, very deed. David arose and came to the place where Saul had pitched. And David beheld the place where Saul lay, and Abner, the son of Ner, the captain of his host, and Saul lay in the trench, and the people pitched about him. Then answered David and said to Amalek the Hittite and to Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, brother of Job, saying, who will go down with me to Saul to the camp? And Abishai said, I will go down with thee. So Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Saul lay sleeping within the trench, and his spear stuck in the ground at his bolster. But Abner and the people lay about him. Then they said Abishai to David, God hath delivered thine enemy into thy hands this day. Now therefore let me smite him, I pray thee, with a spear, even to the earth at once, and I will not smite him a second time. So you see this thing repeating. You see who God is and who David is. So David's come back, even though he's wept and said, you will be king, don't smite my family. Someone said, oh, David's over there. And he's gone and done the same thing. 3,000 men come out. David's got his spies in the land. He knows where he is. And David by himself, and with two other lads, has gone down and seen the same scenario. They're not in a cave this time, but they're all asleep. And then there's the king, the anointed, laying in a field asleep with his spear next to him. And the other guy said, look, I pray thee, let me pick up that spear and thrust him through and kill him in one strike. Done. It's finished. Yeah. And we're seeing God delivering and showing. And then God says, do what you think's fit the first time. What does he think is fit? He says he wants to show him that he doesn't want to kill him. This is the Lord's anointed. You shall not touch the Lord's anointed. David doesn't know that they're not his past. But he respects Saul. He doesn't want to kill him. He's not a bloodthirsty man. So David said to Abishai, destroy him not, for who can stretch forth his hand against the Lord's anointed? There you go. And be guiltless. David said furthermore, as the Lord liveth, the Lord shall smite him, and on his day shall come to die, and he shall descend into battle and perish. Ooh. Lord forbid that I should stretch forth mine hand against the Lord's anointed, but I pray thee, take thou now the spear that is at his bolster, and a cruse of water, and let us go. So last time he took a little piece of cloth, he cut his skirt. He was asleep. He said, I want you to know that I've been here. So I'm going to cut a little piece of cloth and said, I could have killed you. You were asleep and I came right up to you last night. I took a bit of your skirt. Look, it's missing. I've got it here. Now this time, he's come out to seek him, and David's come exactly the same then. Everyone's asleep. And they're going to pick up his spear and take a jug of water and walk off. So David took the spear and the cruse of water from Saul's bolster, and they gat them away, and no man saw it, nor knew it, neither awaked, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord was fallen upon them. There you go. And David went over the other side and stood upon the top of a hill. And we see that that deep sleep in Genesis as well, when the rib was taken from Adam. So God is God. Let's not put it down to man. God doesn't. He trusts in the Lord. They're not going to wake up. Let's go. Go grab it. You could have sung and they wouldn't have woke up. God put them to sleep. They're staying asleep. But they were all asleep because the deep sleep from the Lord was fallen upon them. Then David went over to the other side and stood on top of the hill afar off, a great space being between them. And David cried to the people, to Abner the son of Ner, saying, answerest thou not, Abner? Then Abner answered and said, what art thou that criest to the king? So he's gone off. You got to picture this. He's got 600 of his boys, rabble, that with the seed of it. 400 followed him. They were just discontent with life. Saul, the anointed king's got 3,000 of the best men, and they're all asleep. The Lord's put them to sleep, a deep sleep. He's gone in. This time he's not going to take a bit of cloth. He's taken a jug of water and his spear right from next to the king. And he's gone really, really far away and stood at the top of a hill. He's probably got a spear in one hand and a jug of water in the other, drinking it. And he's shouting out to his boys at the other side. Because David lived in the castle. Remember, he played the harp. And David cried to the people and to Abner, the son of Ner, saying, answer thou not, Abner. Then Abner answered and said, who art thou that criest to the king? And David said to Abner, art not thou a valiant man? And who is like thee in Israel? Wherefore then hast thou not kept thy lord the king? For there came one of the people to destroy the king, thy lord. He says, look, I've got his spear here. Where are you meant to be protecting your king? You were fast asleep, mate. We saw you. You were slept next to him. He was mocking him. It's quite funny. And David said to Abner, art not the valiant man? He said, oh, you're the big dog, aren't you? Who is like thee in Israel? There's the Goliath of them, isn't he? Therefore, why hast thou not kept thy lord, the king? For there came one of the people to destroy the king, thy lord. Do you not think that an army of 3,000 men had centuries? that they were on night watch. The Lord put the camp to sleep. No one was awake. Boom, fast asleep. Yeah. And they're searching for 600 men. You are on high alert at this point. We have to think and put ourselves in the position of a travelling army. This thing is not good that thou hast done. As the Lord liveth, ye are not worthy to die, because ye have not kept your master, the Lord's anointed. And now see where the king's spear is, and the cruse of water that was at his bolster. As the Lord, you're not worthy to die. You're not worthy to be killed. You couldn't even do your own job. Look, you're the king's bodyguard. You're the top boy next to him, meant to be doing your job. You're not worthy. You're not a valiant man. Here's his jug of water. He got from his bedside table, lying in the field. Remember the temperature? They'd sleep outside. It's not a big thing over there. And Saul knew David's voice and said, "Is that thy voice, my son David?" And David said, "It is my voice, my lord, O king." See the respect that David shows. And he said, "Wherefore doth my lord thus pursue after his servant? And what have I done? Or what evil is in mine hand? Or what evil is in my hand? Now therefore I pray thee," let's focus on this. You have to remember that the evil spirit would come upon Saul, and David would play the music, and the evil spirit would leave him. So something spiritual is happening here. You see good Saul, bad Saul. It was good Saul at the beginning, and then it just got progressively worse. When the spirit departed, then we see the spirit coming on him. Then the spirit came on, he throwing javelins at people. You know, it's really interesting. We're on Samuel today, guys. We're just continuing through Samuel. Right, so Lord, and Saul knew David's voice. He knows him. He was his armor bearer. He was right next to him, young lad, talented young lad. And he said, "Is that thy voice, my son David?" Because he's a son-in-law. And David said, "It is my voice, my lord, O king." And he said, "Wherefore doth my lord pursue after thy servant? What have I done? Or what evil is in my hand?" It says, "What evil is in my hand? I'm stood here with your spear. What evil is in my hand? I had a second chance to kill you, even though you've come to kill me. I've taken your spear for you at night. What evil is in my hand? Now, therefore, I pray thee, let my lord the king hear the words of his servant. If the Lord has stirred thee up against me, let him accept an offering. But if they be the children of men, cursed be they before the Lord. For they have driven me out this day from abiding in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, Go, serve other gods. Now, therefore, let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of the Lord, for the king of Israel has come out to seek a flea. So he's saying, what do you want from me? To seek a flea. David's never boasting of his victories. David slew Goliath. David killed a lion. David killed a bear. David was not the tallest guy. David was small. He wants to show that it's God working through him, saying, what have you got for a rabble? You come to kill me. I'm a young lad. I'm small. I'm not a trained warrior. I had never wore armor before. When you put it on me for Goliath, I took it off. I'd never held a sword before. I took my sling and my stave, and God gave the victory. So saying, what do you want with the flea? He's referring to himself as a flea. He's like, what is this threat of a flea? Why are you after me? Why is this? Why has it done it? Come out seek a flea, as when doth hunt a partridge in the mountains. A partridge is a small bird. You're coming up to the mountains to kill me. Me. He's anointed by God. He knows this. Saul doesn't. Saul knows that his anointed is left. Then said Saul, I have sinned. Return, my son David, for I will no more do thee harm, because my soul was precious in thine eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool and have erred exceedingly. So we see this double-mindedness. A double-minded man is a dangerous man. It's a proverb. So we see this double-mindedness. He's done the same thing with the same amount of people, and God has delivered Saul's life, the anointed's passed, the king of Israel into his hands, and he's not taken it both times. It says, my son, come back. I've made a mistake. Very dangerous to be around Saul. Very dangerous to be around Saul. Very unstable. And I played the fool. I've been foolish. I've erred exceedingly. And David answers, behold the king's spear, and let one of the young men come over and fetch it, saying, oh, you think you've been foolish? This is your spear. Remember, this conversation is David's on top of a mountain. He's done it at night. He's retreated to a mountain. Now they're having this shouting conversation through, and saying, oh, you think you've been foolish? This is your spear. I took your spear this time. Yeah. And they said, I pray thee, let me slew him in one blow. No. Don't do that. Behold the king's spear. Let one of the young men come over and fetch it. And the Lord rendered to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord delivered thee into my hands today. but I would not stretch forth my hands against the Lord's anointed. He's following God there. And behold, as thy life was much set by this day in mine eyes, so let my life be as much set by in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me out of tribulation. God will deliver me. You've shown all the grace that I'm showing to you. Come to kill me, and I'm not accepting it. God will defend me. God will give me the glory. God will give me the victory. He will save me, as he saved me with the lion, as he saved me with the bear, as he saved me with Goliath. Do you think that I'm scared of you? No. Great faith has David. Great faith. Then Saul said, it says his heart. It says, search my heart, O Lord. Then Saul said to David, blessed be thou, my son David. David shalt both do great things and shalt still prevail. So David went on his way and Saul returned to his place. So the two armies realized that they're seeing this now. His armies must be kind of seeing, hey, look, this is the second time we've been out here. And last time he took a bit of a scare, and this time he's taken his cup of water and his spear, and he's still left on. Just leave this guy alone. No one has anything bad to say about David. He has taken multiple wives that we notice, but the verse before it said there was nothing found in him, but he has now 4 wives. I know it's common practice, doesn't mean he goes against Levitical laws. David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines, and Saul should despair of me, to seek me any more in any coast of Israel, so I should escape out of his hands. So this is horrible. So in his fear, he's got the army of Israel after him twice, but he keeps changing his mind. He keeps going there with the intention to kill him, and then getting shown, hang on, God is for this. So his faith is starting to not fail, but he's like, David said in his heart, not God said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines. He's going to hide among his enemies because Saul won't go there. And Saul despair of me, to seek me any more in any coast of Israel, so I should escape out of his hand. So he's fleeing to the Philistines. And David arose, and he passed over with 600 men that were with him unto Achish, son of Mahoch, king of Gath. And David dwelt with Achish of Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam and Jezreelite, and Abigail the Carmelite, and Nabal's wife. As it was told Saul that David was fled to Gath, and he sought no more gain from him. So it's kind of put to bed now. And David said unto Achish, if I have now found grace in thine eyes, let them give me place in some town in the country, that I may dwell there. For why should thy servant dwell in royal cities with thee? Then Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Wherefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the king of Judah unto this day. So he's given him a bit of land. And that time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months. Okay? And David and his men went up and invaded the Geshurites and the Jezreelites and the Amalekites, and those nations were of the old inhabitants of the land, as thou goest to Shur, even unto the land of Egypt. So David's got his 600 men, and he's just cutting through and getting rid of all the people that the Lord told him to get rid of, and making his place. And David smote the land and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep and the oxen and the asses and the camels and the apparel, and returned and came to Achish. And Achish said, whither have ye made a road today? And David said, against the south of Judah, and against the south of Jerahmeelites, and against the south of Kenites. See, the Kenites were good to Israel. Don't know why he's doing that. And David saveth neither man nor woman alive, to bring tidings to Gath, saying, lest they should tell on us, saying, so did David, and so will be his manner all the while he dwelleth in the country of the Philistines. Oof. So the Philistines are their enemy, the ones that kept him in captivity. But this is not good, is it? And Achish believed David, saying, he hath made his people Israel utterly to abhor him. Therefore he shall be my servant forever. Okay. And it came to pass in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for warfare, to fight with Israel. And Achish said unto David, knowest thou assuredly that thou shalt go out with me to battle, thou and thy men? And David said to Achish, surely thou shalt know. what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, therefore will I make thee keeper of mine head forever. So Achish is, this guy is, he said, yeah, you can come in. And then he said, go take some land. He's gone in and he's destroying these enemies around him. And now they're uniting. He said, David, you're sorting out people I've not even told you to do. So you'll come with me to battle. I says, you'll be my head. He says, the head guard. Like remember when Saul had Abner and David called to Abner saying, Abner, you didn't even protect him. You're a valiant man. You're the top guy. But you didn't even do this. It says, saying, thy keeper of my head. So he's taking the position of Abner in to King Achish. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits, the wizards, out of the land. Okay. And the Philistines gathered themselves together and came and pitched near Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Saul saw the host of Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. So he's doing the right thing, but the anointing's passed. And he's seen the armies coming in, and he's scared. He's thinking, hang on, you need to understand who the Philistines are. They are not, there's pagan, rabble, blood drinking, baby killing, horrible people. Yeah. But they also have steel. They also have chariots. The weaponry that they have, earlier on, remember 40, 50 years back in the story, they were talking about there was not a sword or a spear found in the hand of the Israelites. They didn't have this weaponry. This is an advanced army here, an advanced army. The descendants of Egypt. And when Saul saw the host of Philistines, he was afraid and greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired to the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. And then Saul said unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath familiar spirits, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath familiar spirits in Endor. So he's saying, go to a witch. I need to go do paganism now because God isn't speaking to me and I'm really, really worried. Yeah, it's an abomination to the Lord. And this is the Lord's anointed. Everyone else thinks, but Samuel, who's died now, has said, it's gone. The spirit departed from him and he's got evil spirits coming into him. Yeah, remember when David played the harp to get the spirits away? So we're starting to see the effects of what he's going to now. Fair enough, God isn't speaking to you. Don't go on the other side. Don't go on the other side. If God doesn't speak to you, he's heard you. God hears all. God hears all. He ain't answering you. The answer might be no. I don't know. Okay, find a more familiar spirit. There's a witch in Endor, and Saul disguised himself. Why are you disguising yourself, Saul? Because he's embarrassed. He must see the king. Going to find a witch. I saw the anointed king Saul hanging around with a witch the other day. So Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment, and he went out, and two men with him, because Saul has his mantle. You have to understand this. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. So they've gone by night, so no one can see them, or it's more difficult to identify them. It's saying divination is an abomination to the Lord. Yeah, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he had cut off those that have familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest a snare for my life and caused me to die? Saying, hey, why are you here? You told everyone that all my witchy friends and wizard friends to get them out of the land that had been killed or pushed out of the land, all the witches and the wizards gone. So do you want me to do it in front of you? You're just going to kill me? No. So she's fearful of her life. She's got the king in her little abode at night time in a different costume. It's like, she's scared. And caused me to die. And Saul sware to her by the Lord, saying, as the Lord liveth, there shall be no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, bring me up Samuel. Now, when they say bring me up, where are they waiting? They're in Abraham's bosom. Heaven doesn't exist. They're in Abraham's bosom. They're waiting. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. So the woman has done this, and she saw Samuel, and she cried with a loud voice as the woman spake to Saul, saying, What hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods descending out of the earth. I saw gods ascending out of the earth. Little g. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And he said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. Now, Samuel loved Saul, even though he never saw him again. He brought him up. Yeah, he brought him up. He was there growing up in the temple. So you have to see these relationships. You have to see these relationships. And when you see covered with a mantle, Samuel tore it and took it with him. It says that the kingdom has departed from you. So there's all these little things that you kind of fish together, okay? And this is good. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And he said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face on the ground and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? So there's peace. You're in Abraham's bosom. He's waiting. He's in perfect content. Remember when you have the story of Lazarus, the dead, and they both went down, the beggar, Lazarus, and the rich man. Yeah. And you know when it's not a parable, it's when they have people's names in it. Lazarus, and he's in peace. He's just waiting for heaven. They're all chilling down there in Abraham's bosom, waiting for Jesus' perfect sacrifice. And so he said, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Solomon said, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me. And God has departed from me and answered me no more. Well, Samuel told him that God departed from him and answered me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. Yeah. Then said Samuel, Wherefore then dost thou ask me, seeing the Lord has departed from thee and is become thine enemy? Saul keeps on thinking that it's Samuel that was doing these things. So Saul, you can do some things. Like, no, I'm a messenger of God. It's not me. I inquire of the Lord. Why do you think he's going to tell me something now? Say, wherefore do you ask me, seeing the Lord has departed from thee and is become thine enemy? The hand is against Saul, and the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me. For the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hands and given it to thine neighbour, even to David. And he knows this. When we see him coming up with the mantle, he rent his mantle. Samuel tore his clothing, ripped his clothing. This is why you see him coming up in the mantle. He says, you know this. And the conversation that Samuel and Saul had, he knows everything, but he keeps asking and inquiring and trying to go against what's going to happen. And give it to thy neighbour, even to David, because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executed his fierce wrath upon Amalek. But we see later on, he does the exact same thing to the city of priests, because they don't give up David's whereabouts. And one priest escapes to tell David and is now with David's troop. Kills suckling, mother, child. So he goes the opposite way. When he didn't obey it, we now see him doing the wrong thing against the priest class for doing the right thing. You've got to stitch these things together. You know, so why, of course he would. Thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, and executed fierce wrath upon the Amaleks. Therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. The Amaleks who put edicts out later on to kill all the Jews. This is where the Muslims will go, oh, what about God destroying all those people? What, the Amaleks that attacked the train, that put out edicts later on, because God knows the beginning from the end. It's important you lock on to why God says these things, and they're revealed later on. Okay. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow, now listen to this. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow thou and thy sons be with me, and the Lord shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. I want you to focus on this. I want you to really focus on this. In the Old Testament, they were saved by faith. Saul believed in God. He inquired of God. Saul was anointed by God. All the prophets do bad things. There's not one that does perfect. All fall short of the glory of God. And Saul, for whatever you say, did great things. God worked mightily. He was obedient, and it started to change through pride. He made himself his own God. He stopped inquiring of the Lord, and they lost battles. And then he didn't obey God's commandment, so he passed his anointing on. And good Saul at the beginning turned into bad Saul now, really. This isn't dependent on his salvation, because Samuel was a great man. His sons weren't great men, but Samuel was the prophet of the Lord. Yeah, Saul's an anointed king. Today you will be with me. He didn't lose his salvation. Saul hasn't lost his salvation. For all the all the things you might get there, and he's not high up in the kingdom. But Saul did great things, and he had a double mind, and the spirits come upon him, evil spirits chased away. He didn't lose his salvation. Yeah, and I've gone into this where you're going, oh, it's necromancy. No, God's done this thing. So one example of it. And if you read the scriptures plainly, I've changed my position on this, but it clearly says it's Samuel come up. It's not anyone else that I used to argue for. It's not. It's God's brought Samuel up, said, oh, you'll be with me tomorrow. That's a message from God. There you go. You wanted to know what happened to you in war. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hands of the Philistines. And tomorrow shalt thy and thy sons be with me. And the Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. Then Saul fell straightway all along the earth and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all that day, nor all night. So he's fasted before seeking a witch, I should say. And now Samuel's come up and said, you want a message? It's not the message you want to hear. Tomorrow, you and your sons will be with me in Abraham's bosom. On the good side, you'll be with me. You're going to die tomorrow, Saul. And Saul knows. He knows Samuel. Nothing Samuel has ever said has not come true. Samuel's a prophet of the Lord. Okay, and the woman came unto Saul and saw that he was sore troubled, and said to him, behold, thy handmaid hath obeyed thy voice, and I put my life in my hand, and have hearkened unto thy words which thou speakest to me. Now therefore I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thine handmaid. Let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat, that thou mayest have strength when thou goest on thy way. But he refused and said, I will not eat. But his servants together with the woman compelled him, and he hearkened unto the voice. So he arose from the earth and sat upon the bed. This guy is scared. Tired, scared, and knowing he's going to die tomorrow. He's on death row. He knows he's got the date set. He doesn't know what time. And the woman had a fat calf in the house. She hastened and killed it, and took flour and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread thereof. And she brought it before Saul and before his servants, and they did eat. And then they rose up and went away that night. This is scary stuff. Saul's got 24 hours. Now the Philistines gathered together all their armies to Aphek, and the Israelites pitched by a fountain which is in Jezreel. And the Lord of the Philistines passed on by hundreds and by thousands, but David and his men passed on in the rear reward with Achish. Then said to the prince of the Philistines, what do these Hebrews here? And Achish said unto the prince of the Philistines, is not this David the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, which hath been with me these days, or these years, and I found no fault in him since he fell unto me, fell me unto this day. So David's on the other side now. David's at the back of the army on the Philistines, saying, look, he came to me in Gath, and he played a madman, and I let him off. I didn't kill him. And then he's come back with 600 men, and then he's gone and killed loads of people, and brought back rewards for me. And I've got him second in command, and now he's going to fight for us against Saul. So this is interesting. And I found no fault in him since he fell to me unto this day. And the prince of the Philistines were wroth with him. And the prince of the Philistines said unto him, make this fellow return, that they may go again to his place which thou hast appointed him. Let him not go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men? Is this not David, of whom they sang one to another in dances, saying, Saul slew his thousands, and David his 10,000? Then Achish called David, and said unto him, surely, as the Lord liveth, thou hast been upright, and thy going out and thy coming in with me in the host is good in my sight. For I have not found evil in thee since the day of thy coming unto me, unto this day. Nevertheless, the Lord favours thee not. Wherefore, the Lord's, not capital L, the Lord's favour thee not. Now you have 5 cities in Philistine, and they're saying, look, you're not bringing 600 Israelites in our back ranks. Because if we go down there and fight and they turn on us, we've got another 600 Israelites behind us. And David, they sing songs about this guy, slew his 10,000. We're fighting the guy that slew his thousands, not the guy behind us that slew his 10,000s. Wherefore now return and go in peace, that thou displease not the lords of the Philistines. And David said to Achish, what have I done? What hast thou found in thy servant, so long as I have been with thee unto this day, that I may not go fight against the enemies of my lord the king? And Achish answered and said to David, I know that thou art good in my sight, as an angel of God. Notwithstanding, the prince of the Philistines have said, he shall not go up with us to the battle. Wherefore now rise up early in the morning with thy master's servants that are come with thee, and as soon as ye be up early in the morning, and have light, depart. So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning, and returned to the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. Okay, you've got to understand, the enemies, according to David now, are the 3,000 men that keep going out to kill David. Yeah, they've seeked his life. And it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the 3rd day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag, and smitten Ziklag and burnt it with fire. This is the land that was given to David. On the 3rd day, the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag and smitten Ziklag. So his home has been burnt. It's been given by the king of Gath, and had taken the women captives that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. So they've burnt the land that he was given, and taken all his women captive. So David and his men came to the city. Behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captives. So when they're taken into captivity, what psychologically this damage will be doing to them? They escaped the Philistines who came from Egypt 400 years after. They escaped out of Egypt from the Philistines, the Egyptians. It's where they're descended from, the sea-bearing people. So this is, you're not going to captivity, you become our slaves again. Remember when Goliath said, oh, you become the slaves again. If this champion wins, you become our slaves. If we win, we'll become your slaves. So it's very traumatic to have your children and your wives go back into captivity. So you have to understand what this means to them. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's 2 wives were taken captives, Anamah and Jezreel, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his son and for his daughter. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. Okay, so David's praising God, encouraging himself in the Lord. Yeah, so you can see great stories of Job. When everything's going bad, his men are like, hey, no sense is coming to me now. We went to battle, we were turned back, and now we've come back. They've taken all our kids captive and our wives. I'm going to stone you. So there's tumult, there's rebellion stirring in his ranks of his men that followed him from the beginning. So this is emotion here. And David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest, Amalek's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought hither the ephod to David. So these are the priestly garments. Let's just change the word to the priestly garments. And David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. Okay, there we go. So David went, he and 600 men that were with him, and came to the brook Besor, where those that were left behind stayed. And David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 bowed behind. They were so faint that they could not go over the brook Besor. And they found an Egyptian in the field, and brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he did eat. And they made him drink water. And they gave him a piece of cake of figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit came again to him, for he had eaten no bread, nor drunken no water 3 days and 3 nights. And David said unto him, to whom belongest thou, and whence art thou? And he said, I am a young man of Egypt. You see, Egypt. servant to the Amalekites, and my master left me because 3 days agone I fell sick. So there's no value to these people. There's pagan people. They're not even carrying the people. So Egypt. Some of them are slaves. They're taking them into slavery, into captivity. Even I, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking, I knew it. So, and they've restored his soul. This guy's famished, he's ill. They've left him for dead. These are the characteristics of the Philistines, of the pagans. Okay, oh, you're dead to me. You're meant to fight. You're going to die in the battle anyway. Because 3 days ago I fell sick. We made an invasion upon the south of the Cherethites, and upon the coast which belongeth to Judah, and upon the south of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said unto him, Canst thou bring me down to this company? He said, Swear unto me by God that thou wilt neither kill me nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring thee down to this company. And when he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because all of the great spoils they had taken out of the land of the Philistines and out of the land of Judah. Now, the land of Judah, it's often mentioned separately because the kingdom split later on. And you see that they don't have idol worship, and they start have idol worship on the top where they go for other gods. And the kingdom splits. When they say the 10 lost tribes, there was not the 10 lost tribes. People that wanted to worship idols that were in the south, they went north. And people in the south people in the north went south, and vice versa. You went to wherever you want, what you wanted to. You want to worship idols, better go up north where it's acceptable. You don't want to worship idols, come down to the southern kingdoms. So you start seeing this out of the land of Judah, but you'll notice Israel and Judah sometimes mentioned separately, and it's a forewarning of what's going to happen. And David smote them from twilight even unto the evening of the next day, and there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men, which rode upon camels and fled. And it was only 400 men that went in. Now you have to understand that these guys have been to battle, they're tired, they're eating, and they're getting drunk. So he stumbled on a party. They're partying, they've got the captive there, locked in a cage, chop, bomb. But you see this 400 went in, 400 guys escape on camel. I don't know what that means, but it's interesting. Always look. So the Bible, every word of it is inspired. And fled. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives, and there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughter, neither spoils nor anything that they had taken from them. David recovered all. And David took all the flocks and the herds that they drave before those other cattle, and said, This is David's spoil. And David came to the 200 men, which were so faint that they could not follow David, whom they had made also to abide by the brook Besor. And they went forth to meet David, and to meet the people that were with him. And David came near to the people, he saluted them. Now, this is where you're going to see the character of David. Then answered all the wicked men and men of Belial, those that went with David, and said, Because they went not with us, we will not give them aught of the spoils that we had recovered, save to every man his wife and child, that they may lead them away and depart. Then said David, You shall not do so, my brethren. That which the Lord had given us, who had preserved us, and delivered the company that came against us into our hands. For who will hearken unto you in this matter? But as his part is that goeth down to battle, so shall his part be that tarry by the stuff. They shall partake alike. He said, No, you'll divide it back exactly how it was. You're not going to take their booty. They've taken our land. They've come and burnt our city. God has said you're going to get everything back. These guys were faint. They couldn't fight. But now you've come back. Did you give the victory? Did you know where to go? Did God deliver them into the hand and promise? Oh, it was you, was it? Was it me that slew Goliath? Was it me who killed a bear or a lion? No. Glory goes to God. He has given us the victory. This is how Saul fell. He started getting prideful. So no, God gave them into our hands. I will give you into their hands. But come to the matter. Same shall be the part that tarry with the stuff. They shall take part alike. And it was so that day forward that he had made it a statute and an ordinance of Israel unto this day. A statute and an ordinance, you will divide it properly. Yeah. So he doesn't want greed. He doesn't want greed. And he's saying, to this day, this is going to be established. And when David came to Ziklag, he sent off the spoils unto the spoils unto the elders of Judah, even to his friends, saying, Behold, a present for you of the spoils of the enemies of the Lord. And to them which were in Bethel, and to them which were in Sal Ramoth, and to them which were in Jatir, and to them which were in Aurora, and to them which were in Siphmoth, and to them which were in Estemo, and to them which were in Rachel, and to them which were in the cities of the Gemeralites, and to them which were in the cities of the Kenites, and to them which were in Homa, and to them which were in Chosahan, and to them which were in Atak, and to them which were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were wont to halt. So David is blessing Israel. David, as the anointed king, is going, bless Israel. Here's some swords. Here's some this. Here's some that. And he's blessing his people, as a king should do. He's finding favor with God and with men. It's important to have the men on your side. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from the Philistines and fell down slain in the Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines fought hard upon Saul and upon his sons. And Jonathan, I'm telling you, if you haven't studied Jonathan's one of my favorite characters in the Bible, and he just dies. It breaks my heart when I read this bit, because if it was just a story, I'd love to know more about Jonathan. Jonathan's brilliant, but he dies. He dies. And this is one of David's best friends. Yeah. The men of Israel fled before the Philistines and fell down and slain in the mountain. Okay, blah, 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 blah. And the Philistines slew Jonathan and Abinadab and Machalishu, sons of Saul. And the battle went sore against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then Saul said unto his armor-bearer, draw thy sword and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come thrust me through and abuse me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. Now what we're seeing here is we don't really see, I think there's two accounts of suicide. Saul is surrounded, his sons have all died with him, he's dying, and he's either going to get taken into captivity, like he took the king Agag. Remember the Philistine king Agag? He took him into captivity, put him at his feet, mocked him, beat him up, just was like, oh, you've done all this, watch. The Lord told him to kill everyone. Boom, there and then, wipe them out. Yeah? So he's saying, don't do that to me. I know what I did to King Agag, and now I'm here. Everyone's around me dying. I've been hit with an arrow. I'm as good as dead. And to his armor-bearer, he's like, kill me. But the armor-bearer is Jewish. He's thinking, I shall not touch the Lord's anointed. So Saul's turned the sword on himself and killed himself. So we're seeing that. And then Saul took a sword and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword and died with him. His armor-bearer's duty was to protect the king. His life would have been at risk anyway. You see the armor-bearer going anywhere that they go, because Jonathan, my favorite person, went to attack the Philistine camp by himself with his armor-bearer, because Jonathan had faith. Jonathan's a bad boy. And his faith, God followed him and brought an earthquake with them. And it started the whole rebellion of them hiding in caves. So you see how close the armor-bearer was. And who was his armor-bearer before? David. That's how close David was. Yeah, and that's the relationship that the armor-bearer would be taught to have. You have to protect the king. You are his armor-bearer. You are his protection. Yeah. And then Saul took the sword and fell upon it. When his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword and died with him. So Saul died, and his 3 sons and his armor-bearer and all his men that same day together, just as Samuel prophesied. Just as Samuel prophesied. Okay, who are we going? And all his men that same day together. And when the men of Israel that were on the other side of the valley, and they that were on the other side of Jordan, saw that the men of Israel fled, that Saul and his sons were dead, they forsook the cities and fled. And the Philistines came and dwelt in them. So they captured land. They thought, he's done. The army's lost. Retreat. Get out the cities. And fled. And Saul and his sons were dead, forsook the cities, blah, 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 and dwelt in them. And it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen in Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head and stripped of his armor and sent it to the land of the Philistines round about to publish it in the house of their idols and among the people. This is what Saul did to Agag. He paraded Agag like a trophy when God said to kill him. Yeah, this is what David did to Goliath. He took his head. David's carrying Goliath's sword now. They had it wrapped up in a meat pod. These are trophies. So he said, "Oh, the king of Israel, hey!" and swinging it around the city, showing everyone. So. You know, house of the idols and among the people, and they put his arm in the house of Ashtaroth, a false god. Yeah, you shall know the gods before me. And just a false god. Bosh. Say it like it is. Say it with chest. A false fallen angel. And they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. And when the inhabitants of Jablagia heard of that which the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose and went all night and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan and came to Jabesh and burnt them there. Wow. Here, read this. Read this. Saying it with chest. And the valiant men arose and went all night and took the body of Saul. So they've walked all night. You've got to remember how small Israel is. It's not a big place. And the valiant men, the men with gusto, said, nah, not our king, not our king. They've gone all night and they've climbed up the wall and taken off the bodies for a proper Jewish burial. Very highly regarded. The Jews would bury within the day. And burnt them there. Now, in the Bible, burning, burying, there's various different ways, but it's showing respect to the body. And burnt them there, and they took their bones and buried them under a tree in Jabesh, and fasted 7 days, because they were spiritually unclean under Levitical laws after touching dead bodies. Now, I don't know why it's 7 days, seven, God doing his thing, but the anointed king. So they did it 7 days. So it's just interesting when we see this number recurring, and it's more than Levitical law requires. You should be unclean for 1 day. And then you had to leave the city if you touched a dead body. And it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, David had abode 2 days in Ziklag. When David returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, David had abode 2 days in Ziklag. And it came even to pass on the 3rd day that, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he came to David, that he fell on the earth and did obeisance. I have no idea what that word means, but when they rent their clothes, sackcloth and ashes, they put ashes on the head. He's just getting dirt and putting dirt on his head and renting his clothes. It's a showing of mourning. He's mourning for his king. So he's come out of his camp with his clothes rent and earth upon his head, ashes or earth. And so it was when he came to David that he fell to the earth and did. I'm sure it's just mourning. Yeah, mourning, I think. Someone can pull that word up and put it in the chat. And David said unto him, from whence comest thou? And he said unto him, out of the camp of Israel I am escaped. And David said unto him, how went the matter? I pray thee, tell me. And he answered, the people have fled from the battle, and many of the people also are fallen dead. And Saul and Jonathan his son are dead also. Oh, can you imagine hearing this if you're David? And David said to the young man that told him, how knowest that Saul and Jonathan his son be dead? He's his best mate. And the young man told him and said, it happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa. Behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me, and called unto me, and answered him, here am I. And he said unto me, who art thou? And I answered him, I am an Amalekite. This story isn't matching up. Is that what really happened? So he's an Amalekite. He's an enemy. He's come and he's, putting earth on his head, and he's ripping his clothes in the Jewish tradition, but he's not Jewish. He's an enemy. I'm an Amalekite. And he said unto me, again, stand, I pray thee. And what did God say to Saul? Destroy all the Amaleks. And he didn't do it. And now David's there. David knows this. I'm an Amalekite. And he said unto me, stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me. For anguish has come upon me, because my life is yet whole in me. So I stood upon him and slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen. I took the crown that was upon his head and the bracelet that was upon his arm, and I brought them hither unto my Lord. So he's saying, I killed him. He couldn't survive. I gave him mercy. So I stood upon him and slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head and the bracelet that was on his arm, and I brought them hither unto my Lord. So he'd have a crown on his head with a little horn there. You see the 10 horns in Revelation, it'd be a sign of a king. They have a bracelet, they wore them upon the arm. Yeah. They wore the arm to show they were king. Just tradition, doesn't mean anything. So he's gone, look, I've taken these valuable things. He's obviously been scavenging, found the thing and thought, you know what? I'll go tell a story and they'll give me loads of rewards and they'll look after me because I've killed his enemy. This is Saul that was after David, wasn't it? He's not filling in. He's told him a false story. And he's touched and then notice that he's admitting, I've touched the Lord's anointed. Well, David was like, I'm not going to stretch my hands. I'm going to kill Saul, the Lord's anointed. You've got to put this in context. So this guy has come up with an ingenious, very bold plan to come up, repenting, saying, look, I've killed Saul. I know he was your enemy. Look, here's his crown. Here's his thing to prove it. So I stood upon him and slew him. I took the crown that was upon his head and the bracelet and brought them hither unto my Lord. And I was calling him his Lord. Then David took hold of his clothes, rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him. Now, you're thinking, hang on, I've come in here. I've told this story that I'm the good guy. And I've helped Saul die. And I've brought your enemy. I've killed your enemy. And now I've brought, to prove that I've killed him, to my Lord. And then the guys, they're not celebrating. They're like, Saul's dead. No, David, instantly. Renting his clothes, ripping his clothes, mourning, crying. Oh no, Saul's dead. You see the heart of David. Starting to see the heart of David. And David took hold of his clothes and rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him. And they mourned and they wept and they fasted until even for Saul and for Jonathan his son, his best mate, and for the people of the Lord and for the house of Israel, because they were all fallen by the sword. And David said unto the young man that told him, whence art thou? And he answered, I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite. And David said to him, how wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thine hand and destroy the Lord's anointed? David was. And David called for one of the young men and said, go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died. Bosh. Done. You touched the Lord's anointed. You've been Amalekite. I've been taught to wipe you out. And now and then you said you killed my enemy, but he wasn't my enemy. I was his enemy, not the other way around. And David lamented with his lamentations over Saul and over Jonathan his son. Doesn't mention his other sons. Jonathan, second in command, heir apparent. Jonathan loved David. They were buddies. Jonathan went against Saul to keep David safe. Also, he bade them to teach the children of Judah. Also, he bade them teach the children of Judah to use the bow. And behold, it is written in the book of Jasher, the beauty of Israel is slain upon the high places. How are the mighty fallen? Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the streets of Ascalon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. Yea, the mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let the rain be upon you, nor fields of offerings, for there the shield of the mighty is vilely cast away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil. For the blood of the slain, for the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back, and the sword of Saul returned not empty. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they are not divided. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothe you in scarlet, with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. For how the mighty have fallen, the weapons of war perish. This is Jonathan. You have to remember, Jonathan was getting him out of it. He saw who David was and gave his his kingly titles, his clothes, his sword, his bow. He gave them to David. He said, I know who you are. You're a great man. I'm going to follow you. I'm going to be with you when you're king of Israel. And he helped him escape death, and he made covenants with him. So this is a deep blow to him. And then we're not forgetting his fellow kinsmen have just been slaughtered. And Saul is not his enemy. Saul's enemy, out of jealousy. How the mighty fall and the weapons of war perish. And we see the beauty. You see the beauty in the writing. You see how you've got to understand who these people are. Now, David is alone. He's a shepherd, and he has his harp. He's a great songwriter. You know, idle hands make the devil's work. So he wasn't idle-handed in the field. He was playing his lyre, he was writing music, and you start seeing it in the writing, you know, in the writing of David and in the Psalms. You see when it's David speaking, he's lamenting and he's saying all these great things about Saul and about, you know, what's happened and all the great things that they did. He's not taking joy in any of this. Oh, now the path's clear. No, he's talking about. He's not mocking him. So it's a beautiful. We see the character of David, the greatest king, apart from the King of Kings, Jesus Christ. Come on. And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying, "Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah?" And the Lord said to him, "Go up." And David said, "Whither shall I go up?" And he said, "Unto Hebron." So David went up thither, his two wives also, Amnon and Jezreel, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite is his wife. I don't know why they mentioned it differently, but they seem to do it, because Nabal's dead and he took her as wife. And his men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Judah came, and they were and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying that the men of Jezreel were they that buried Saul. And David sent message unto the men of Jezreel, and said unto them, Blessed be ye of the Lord, that ye have shewed kindness unto the Lord, even to Saul, and have buried him. The respect that they showed, boom, we said, okay, blessed be you. Now the Lord showed kindness and truth unto you, and also will requite you in this kindness, because you have done this thing. Therefore, now let your hands be strengthened, be ye valiant, for your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. And Abner the son of Ner, so he's very politically minded. You remember, see how he's giving out the rewards? He gives them out to the men who didn't fight, and then he starts giving rewards of the Philistines trophy to cities to gain favors. Very astute politically. David is not a mug. He's a very talented man, blessed by God, great musician, great in battle, apparently, even though he's not trained, and very astute in his political observation of the law and how to gain favor from men. He was seen high in the eyes of men. So, okay, valiant men of Saul's in the house of Judah. And Abner the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishiboth the son of Saul and brought him over to Mahanaim. Oh, this is interesting. Now, Abner the son of Ner, captain of the Saul's host, so this is the general, took one of Saul's remaining sons. See, 3 have died. He has another 3 left. Took Ishboth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. So he's keeping him safe. So he said, I can reestablish a kingdom here, and I'll be the general again. So if I just get one of his lineage. Jonathan's died. He was heir apparent. Now it falls on one of the sons. But now Judah, the largest tribe, has anointed David as king. God's anointed him already, but we see him stepping into his kingship here. He's becoming legitimate in the eyes of Israel. And he made a king over Gilead. And okay, now look what he's doing. And he made a king over Gilead, and over Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. So now he's set up opposition. His general said, "Oh no, we've been defeated. We take his thing, take one of his sons, and make him king." And Ishiboth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. This is the largest tribe. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner, the son of Ner, and the servant of Abner, the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, the servant of David, went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, one on the other side of the pool, the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, "Let the young men now arise and play before us." And Joab said, "Let them arise." This is so they've got this tension between them, the two armies. It's like Goliath and David. Now watch this. Abner said, "Joab, let the young men arise and play before us." And Joab said, "Let them arise." And then they arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishiboth the son of Saul, and 12 the servant of David. Now listen to this. When it says play, it means fight. So, and they caught every one his fellow by the head, and thrust his sword into his fellow's side. So they fell down together. Wherefore the place was called Helkathazorium, which is in Gabon. So these two guys have said, okay, we both hate each other. We're on either side of the pool. It's even. Let these lads fight it out. And the 12 lads have gone across and gone out, grabbed each other, and they've all died. Everyone's died. Just done. That's it. There was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, Abishai, and Ashael. And Ashael was a light of foot as a wild roe, very fast at running. And Ashael pursued after Abner, and in going he turned not to the right and not to the left, following Abner, saying, I'm going to kill you. Then Abner looked behind him and said, Art thou Ashael? And he answered, I am. And Abner said to him, Turn thee aside to thy right or to thy left, and lay thee hold of one of the young men, and take thee his armour. But Ashael would not turn aside from following him. He's saying, look, they're running. David's side's winning. And the sons are running away, and he's thinking, I know who you are. I'm going to go get your armour. Because he kills him, and he comes back. It's his war boots. He's like, look who I killed. It's a little victory kind of thing. And he's like, look, go get one of these that are slower. Don't come for me. And this guy is flat-footed. He's running after him, and they're talking as they're running. It's like, look, go get one of these other guys. Come on, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Now, you have to understand what this is and what it isn't. I'll show you in a second. I am. But he would not turn aside from following. And Abner said again, I shall turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore I should smite thee to the ground. How then should I hold my face to Job thy brother? I think that there's a link in the family here. There's a link in the family. Howbeit he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner, with the hinder end of his spear, smote him under the 5th rib. Why the 5th rib? Where was Eve taken from? Where was Jesus stabbed in? By the Roman soldier? You see it? Okay. See little bits that you see there. The spear came out behind him, and he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Asher fell down and died stood still. Now the back of the spear was not. You think of a spear as a spear. This is war. The spear had obviously a point on one end, but it was also pointed at the other end. So when he smote it, it went right through his belly and out his back, and like that. With the back of his spear as he was running behind him. He's running, and this guy's faster than him, and he goes, no, go get someone else, go get someone else. On his 5th rib, straight through. It's pointed at both ends. You can't put a wooden stake through someone, but you can put the back end of a spear through someone. So he's died. Asher fell down and they stood still. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah that lieth before Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gabon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner and became one troop and stood at the top of a hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said, Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following thy brethren? He's saying, look, how long must we kill each other? So running battle, we're at the top of the hill. How much longer should we kill each other? So there's a bit of sanity coming back into the conversation now. What's happening here? And Job said, As God liveth, unless thou hadst spoken, surely in the morning the people had gone up, everyone from following his brother. So Job blew the trumpet, and all the people stood still and pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. And Abner and his men walked all that night through the plain and passed over Jordan and went through Bithron and came to Mahanaim, whatever it's called. And Joab returned from Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, the lacked of David's servants 19 men and Ashael. So 19 of his men died. And the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died. 360 guys died, and they lost 19. If the Lord is with me, who can be against me? You do not want to be on the side of against the Lord's anointed. And they took up Ashael and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at break of day. Now, when they say in the sepulchre, they would cut. So the Jewish traditions, they would cut into the stone, and they were buried in the caves, the bones. They put the bones in there. Well, they put the body in there, the body would rot. But you even see this in Israel. You see the tombs. They're still cut in. A lot of them have been smashed down by the Romans to use the stone, because they don't respect the Jews. They'd cut them down and use the material. But you can see a lot of these sepulchres to the day hewn into solid rock. So that and you'd have your family tomb, and you go in, and you'd move the rock, and there'd be holes with the bones in. And then you'd be your dad over there, and your uncle over there, and your granddad up there. So this is when it says the sepulchre. Okay. All night, and they came to Hebron at break of day. Let us continue. Now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David, but David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. And unto David were born sons in Hebron. His first born was Amnon of Ahinoam the Jezreelites, and the second Cheleb of Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. The third Absalom, the son of Mach, the daughter of Tamil, king of Geshur. The fourth Adonijah, the son of Haggith, and the fifth Sepitath, the son of Abital. So David's got 5 wives now. This is breaking Levitical law. I know it's common practice. A lot of these are political. Well, they're not political marriages. He's clearly doing the thing. But it came to pass while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David that Abner made himself strong for the house of Saul. And Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And Ishboth said to Abner, "Wherefore hast thou gone in unto my father's concubine?" Oh, so he's gone into his father's concubine. It's almost like trying to take away. Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah. So Saul's dead. His name was Rizpah, and daughter of Aiah. And Ishboth said to Abner, "Wherefore hast thou gone into my father's concubine?" It's his wife. The concubines weren't just prostitutes. They were more than that, but they were less than a wife. But it's also trying to take the throne. It could be seen in that way. And Abner was very wroth with the words of Ishboth and said, "Am I a dog's head, which against Judah do shew kindness this day to the house of Saul thy father, to his brethren, to his friends? Have I not delivered thee into the hand of David? Thou that chargest me to the day with a fault concerning this woman," saying, "Am I a human? Can I do these things?" So do God to Abner, and more so, except as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, and set up the throne of David over Israel, over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. So he's saying, "You forget this, I'm out of here, and we're off to go follow David." And he could not answer Abner a word again, because he feared him. And Abner sent a messenger to David on his behalf, saying, "Whose is the land?" saying also, "Make thy league with me, and behold, my hand shall be with thee, and bring about all Israel unto thee." Just saying, "I'm done with Saul. I'm off." Now he's dead, and his concubine, not even his wife, we're together. And now I'm saying, and then they're saying that I'm trying to mock Saul. "I'm with you, David. I know the prophecy. I'm with you. Let's set up league together. Let me join you." And he said, "Well, I will make league with thee, but one thing I require of thee, that is, thou shalt not see my face, except thou first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when thou comest see my face." And David sent message to Ibbachar, Saul's son, saying, "Deliver me my wife Michal, which I espoused from 100 foreskins to the Philistines." He's saying, hey, the first wife that Saul gave me, that Saul said, "Go kill 100 Philistines and bring me the foreskins," he would put me at the front line because he wanted me to die. That wife that he gave to me, that made me son-in-law to him, go bring her back to me. Okay. She says, 100 foreskins, I brought back 200. We killed 200 men. You wouldn't want to receive that back, would you? It's not a good look, is it? Walking to, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to keep it PC. When thou comest see my face. And Ishboth sent and took her from her husband, even from Pilatel, the son of Lash. Oh, she says she's remarried. And her husband went with her along, weeping behind her to Bahurim, and said to Abner unto him, "Go, return," and he returned. So she's been remarried because it's a political tool. You see how she was used as a political tool. Now Saul hated David and all these things happened. She's been remarried, but her husband loves her and he's followed her and said, "Look, go." So this guy is brokenhearted. He hasn't done anything wrong. And Abner had communicated with the elders of Israel, saying, "Ye sought for David in times past to be king over you. Now then do it, for the Lord has spoken of David, saying, By the hand of my servant David, I will save my people Israel out of the hand of Philistines, and out of the hand of all thine enemies." And it also prophesies, the scepter shall not depart from Judah. David is from Judah. Yeah. No, hang on. Isn't David? Hang on, I might have got that wrong. Let me just think. Is David a Benjamite? No, Saul's a Benjamite. Will not depart from Judah. And there's a prophecy in Esther about it being 10 generations until the king comes. Not for 10 generations. The sins of them shall go unto 10 generations. And Saul was the 9th. And there was the people asking for the king, not God giving them a king. You shall give a king. Blah, 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 blah. Now then do it. The Lord has spoken. Okay. How the hand of that. And Abner also spake in the ears of Benjamin. And Abner went also to speak in the ears of David in Hebron, all that seemed good to Israel, and that seemed good to the whole house of Benjamin. So Abner came to David to Hebron, 20 men with him. And David made Abner and the men that were with him a feast. And Abner said to David, I will arise and go, and will gather all Israel unto my lord the king, and that they may make a league with thee, that thou mayest reign over all thine heart's desire. And David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. So everyone's thinking, look, let's go to David now. And behold, the servant of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop, and brought in a great spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he was gone in peace. When Joab and all the host that were with him were come, they told Joab, saying, Abner, the son of Ner, came to the king, and he hath sent him away, and he is gone in peace. Then Joab came to the king and said, What hast thou done? Behold, Abner came up to thee. Why is it that thou hast sent him away, and he is quite gone? Thou knowest Abner, the son of Ner, that he came to deceive thee, to know thy going out and thy coming in, and to know all that thou doest. Then Joab, who was come out from David, he sent the messenger after Abner, which brought him against the well of Sirah, but David knew it not. When Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly. So to the gate is where they make decisions as well. The men, they used to, when they talk about the gate, always focusing on it, took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him there under the 5th rib, and he died for the blood of Ashal, his brother. Ooh, ho, 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 ho. Oh, revenge is best served cold. He says, come and have a word with me. And he goes to the gate, and he smotes him. He kills him exactly where he killed his brother. That's interesting. And smote him there under the 5th rib, and he died for the blood of Ashal, his brother. And afterwards, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord forever from the blood of Abner, the son of Ner. Let it rest on the head of Joab and all his father's house. Let there no frail from the house of Joab, one that hath an issue, and that is a leper, or that leaneth on a staff, or that falleth on the sword, or that lacketh bread. So Joab and Abishish, brother, slew Abner, because he had slain their brother Ashel of Gibeon in battle. So David said to Joab, to all the people that were with him, rend your clothes, and gird you with sackcloth, and mourn before Abner. And King David himself followed the bier. So they've all done this. They've all mourned that he's died, but they're saying, look, he did that. They did that. They buried Abner in Hebron. The king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. And the king lamented over Abner and said, died Abner as a fool dieth? Thy hands were not bound, nor thy feet put in fetters. As a man falleth before wicked men, so fallest thou. And all the people wept again over him. And when all the people came to cause David to eat meat while it was yet day, David sware, saying, so do God to me, and more also, if I taste bread or aught else till the sun be down. So he's fasting. And all the people took notice of it, and it pleased them, as whatsoever the king did pleased all the people. For all the people and all of Israel understood that day that it was not of the king to slay Abner the son of Ner. And the king said unto his servants, know ye not that there is a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel? And I am this day weak. Though anointed king, and these men the sons of Zeruiah be too hard for me, the Lord shall reward the doer of evil according to his wickedness. Guys, I'm getting tired. I think I'm going to leave it there, but God bless you. If you want to know why I'm understanding it more, the teacher that I listen to is Chuck Missler. I've listened to multiple teachers, but he does line by line Bible studies. I'm going to answer a few questions because we've got them in here. Adam, do you think Catholics will go to heaven? No, because they believe in works-based salvation, and that salvation is in the church, not in Jesus Christ. Bro Slim, looks like I came late. Catholics won't go to heaven if it's really works-based salvation. Took the words right out of my mouth. Happy birthday, Freddie. Guys, if you've liked the stream, press like. If you want to go back from Samuel 1, I think this is the third one I've done now. Also today I was on Gary Machuda's show. I just asked him a question and posed, Dasson, you're going to love this, posed whether this is true, if it will demonstrate that the canon is self-identifying itself. So hopefully I can have a fruitful conversation with Gary Machuda, a very respected Catholic. Guys, I'm not as busy as I used to be because my life is really busy. I'm getting married in 4.5 weeks. So God is really good. Yeah, Chuck Missler is the real deal. So I've got to focus on certain things at the moment. But God is calling me to evangelize more. I mean, I always evangelize in my life, but I think I'm going to be going onto the streets more. No, I believe all Christians will make it. Protestant means to protest. There's no such thing as a Protestant. It's a made-up word. It means to protest against the Catholic Church. When I came online, people were saying, "Oh, Adam, you're a Protestant." I was like, "What's Protestant?" I was like, "Oh, well, in history, they protested against the Catholic Church." Well, I'm like, "Isn't that the Orthodox? Aren't they the original OG Protestants?" So you people can label me what they want. I'm a born-again Christian. That's it. My leaning style is generally towards Baptists, independent Baptists. I think they have generally more better teachers and in-depth teachers. I'm King James Bible believing, born-again Christian, and that's that. Through grace alone, through faith alone, not by works, lest any man boast. And if you do not believe that Jesus Christ is fully God, uncreated, then I don't believe you're going to heaven. Only God knows, but you shall know them by their fruits. Peace be with you. May the Lord have for the great. I'm trying to do a humble servant thing. May the grace and peace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you forever. Amen. Okay, we're going to end in prayer. I'm not anointed. That's ridiculous. No. I'm not anointed. I'm a king and a priest through Jesus Christ, as everyone else is in this building if you are born again. But I am just a humble servant of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you have liked this stream, go back to the beginning and watch it. There's some other parts where I go through it. But if you want to go to a greater teacher, I'm not trying to keep you here. I think there's far better people than me online. Go to Chuck Missler. Go to the horse's mouth and do line by line Bible studies, because you will grow so much. And as you really digest the Bible, you will start making the links and see everything together. So we've got that the fifth rib here, Eve, Jesus Christ. You start seeing all the prophecies and kind of shadow through. It wouldn't surprise me if that entire New Testament was in the Old Testament hidden, word by word. Not actually word by word, but all the things that happened. All the shadows are in there. And if they're not in there, you should be worried of what you're believing. So yeah, guys, did I have anyone up? No, I didn't. Right, guys, take care. Peace and love. But hopefully you should see me anointed to preach the good news. Yes. Called by God to preach the good news. No, for me, when I found Jesus, I knew that salvation was the greatest gift. So I'm going to give the gospel. This is the gospel. This is the good news. Tell everybody. The gospel is, the good news is that it's not based on you. It's a free gift, and God's gifts are irrevocable. Adam, could you lose your salvation? I'm sure I could lose my salvation. If I could, I would have lost it 1,000 times. But I'm not keeping my salvation. Jesus has sealed me with the Holy Spirit until the day of redemption. I have received his free gift. I am thankful for him, and I choose to serve him out of love. I've changed my mind, repent. I've changed my mind on who I am. I am a sinner saved by grace, and it is God working through me because I put my faith in his finished work through the blood of Jesus Christ. Without the shedding of blood, there is no remission for sins. So Jesus Christ, fully God, fully man, came down, fulfilling the law, lived a perfect life, died on that cross willingly. No one takes my life, but I give it freely. Willingly went to the cross, took all the sins upon him, the crown of thorns, where God took the curses upon him, where God cursed the ground to produce thorn and thistles. was nailed in the hands where we took from the tree. Yeah. Was smote in the rib under the fifth rib where Eve came out of. What was the other one? Oh, by his lashes we are healed. Reverse the curse of diseases. The medical world recognizes 39 major diseases. The others are just offsets. And by his stripes we are healed. So there is healing in Jesus Christ. He is our healer. He is our, I love him. So yeah, I put my faith in his finished work. Nothing that I can do. Signed, sealed, and delivered, baby. Now, all I encourage you to do is, out of love for what he has done for you, is to serve him wholeheartedly by the renewing of your mind, by understanding the scriptures, being a doer of the word, not just a hearer, denying your flesh and picking up daily, storing those rewards in heaven. For where your treasures are, where your heart is, where your treasures are, also your heart will be. Be a good Christian. Grow in wisdom and knowledge and show that same grace to other people. Show that love, because how can you point the finger at someone else? Like David's example. How can you point the finger at someone else when your sins have been forgiven? And David, I'm going to quote David, blessed are those who God will not impute sin to. Oh, something like that. David prophesied us. Blessed are we. We have been, had a circumcision of the heart, where the sins committed in the spirit don't go to the soul. Washed clean in the blood, washed, not being washed, washed, sanctified, justified, washed clean, dripping in the blood of Jesus, baby. So I've had an amazing time. I hope you have too. Give God all the glory. If you're new here, subscribe. If you're not, hold tight, gang, and you will see me when you see me. I am very busy at the moment, but my calling, I think, is to go. I think the fruit in Christianity on YouTube, most people's hearts are hardened. Most people, I think that there is more harvest to go out into the streets. So I think I'm going to be going back to my first love. I used to pull a tent up and I used to do street evangelism. I think I'm going to go back into the field. I think it was placed upon my heart a couple of weeks back. I always do it. I don't sound a trumpet before I do it. I do it everywhere I go, but I think I need to be focusing more in that area. So the channel might be changing slightly to more street evangelism. And that's it. We're going to be arguing with evidence, because the truth is not subjective. So with that, you know what time it is. It's the outro time. So Christ is King in the chats. I'm going to say this. Bye. Bye. See you later. God bless you. Christ is King. Come on, Jesus.
يا شيخ عهدي يلا يا حلوة يلا يا طعمة باي باي يلا مع السلامة يا بنت قدام المدرسة المديرة هتطرد الخصم مو وقته دحين يلا يا بابا الناس يلا مع السلامة مو وقته الحين قدام المدرسة امشي يا شيخة يلا مع يا شيخة خش